Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Glad you all came out to see the candidates. It's probably the best way that you can get to know a candidate for any position is when you come out and hear a candidate forum as opposed to a debate. You get to hear exactly what they have on their mind and what they have planned for the position that they seek. I first and foremost want to thank my pastor, the pastor of Zion Baptist Church, who is here this evening, and I'm going to have him get up and give a few words here in a little bit. But I want to thank him for allowing us to come into this church and have this event. He is a very strong advocate for voters, getting out to vote and everybody exercising that right and that privilege. I want to encourage everyone to check mvp.sos.ga.gov. That's where you want to go to monitor your voter registration status, check your poll location and your early voting locations, and to see who your elected officials are, because there have been some changes if you haven't noticed over the recent times. You need to find out who you're voting for, what you're voting for, and is that candidate in your district as they were the last time. You need to find out all that information. So we have a moderator here that I'm going to introduce. And after I introduce her, my pastor's going to get up and he's going to give a few words. And then the next voice you'll hear after his will be from the moderator, Mrs. Erica Wilson, St. Magnus University Chancellor and Acting Provost. Erica Wilson Esquire is the owner and managing partner of the law office of Erica Wilson, LLC. Attorney Wilson, her experience as an educator, compliance expert, and attorney with over 15 years of legal experience makes her one of the most effective leaders in America, with considerable expertise in criminal law, civil rights, and domestic relations. And tonight, she's going to be acting as the moderator. So the next voice that you will hear after a word from our senior pastor, Pastor Eric Beckham, will be Sister Erica Wilson.
Thank you, Deacon Moore. Welcome everyone to Zion Baptist Church, to our candidates and all who are here on today. I want to give a special thank you to the Alpha Phi Alpha brothers for hosting this, along with the Center for Common Ground Democracy Center of Cobb County. As Deacon Moore stated, as a church, we always strongly advocate for our people to vote. But one of the biggest issues is we don't like when people come to vote and they don't know who to vote for, particularly with all of the local candidates. You know, we're realizing more and more the importance of our local candidates, even though it's a critical presidential election. There's so many other elections that we're trying to advocate for our people to participate. And so we're grateful for you guys to host this, a great opportunity to get to know the candidates, to get to know the issues, so that when we get in the booth, we know who and what we are voting for. So thank you all so much. And we're praying for all of our candidates. We're praying for our county, city of Marietta, that God will bless us. For our nation in particular, we believe in prayer, all that's going on. This is a very, very critical time for our nation, particularly for many of us as African Americans and our churches. It's very, very, very important for us to ensure that our people not only vote, but also understand the candidates and the issues. So thank you all for being here, and God bless everybody.
Good evening, everybody. I am Attorney Erica Wilson. They can come in. So welcome to the Cobb County District Attorney and State Court Candidate Forum. All candidates were invited to attend. I will start by explaining some procedures for the forum, which each candidate received ahead of time. Instructions for the candidates: you will get 2 minutes for an opening statement, 3 minutes to answer each question that I will present, 3 minutes to answer questions from the audience, and 2 minutes for a closing statement. Opening and closing statements will be done in the following order, based on alphabetical order for opening and reverse for closing. To ensure that everyone has equal time to answer the questions, our timekeepers will manage the time. The timekeepers are sitting in the front row. When there is a half-minute left on your speaking time, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 30 seconds, indicating that you have 30 seconds left to finish your answer. At 15 seconds, the timekeeper will hold up a card that says 15 seconds. Please wrap up your statement when you see the stop card. If you continue speaking after the stop card is held up, I will politely say thank you. and move on to the next speaker. Personal references about other candidates are out of order. If personal references ensue, those responsible will not be asked any further questions or be allowed any additional comments. Please note that the cameras are in the back of the room. The forum is being cast via Zoom, courtesy of the Cobb County chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. Now, instructions for the audience. Please turn off your cell phones and beeping watches now. We request that you treat all candidates fairly. Please remain quiet throughout the forum. No clapping or cheering or calling out, with the exception after their closing statements. You may clap for all the candidates if you wish. You are encouraged to submit questions for the candidates provided on the index card. Please hold up your cards, and a member from the Marietta Roswell chapter of Delta Sigma Theta or Rho Zeta Omega chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha will retrieve those cards. Questions must be addressed to all candidates and must apply to all issues or qualifications for their particular office. Raise your hand if you'd like another index card or if you have a card to be collected. A community attendant will review the question for legibility, clarity, and applicability to all candidates. I will read as many questions as time allows, sometimes combining similar questions, striving to cover a variety of topics. Please keep your questions short and to the point, and your questions should be shorter than the time allowed for the candidates to respond. And it should also end with a question mark. I did not put that even though I'm a former English teacher, but yeah. All right. So unless we got Jesus on the main line, please remember to turn your cell phones and beeping watches off. All right, so good evening to all of the candidates. We will start with the questions for the district attorney. So both of you have referenced restorative justice. Oh, that was not on the. Oh, that was okay. So as a reminder, the opening statements will go in alphabetical order and the closing remarks will go in the reverse.
Can you hear me? Okay. All right. So good evening, everyone. I just want to start by saying first, thank you for everybody being here. This is important that you're here tonight. And I thank Zion. I thank the organizations that put this together. My name is Sonia Allen, and I am running for Cobb County District Attorney's Office. I am currently the Deputy District Attorney for the Fulton County DA's Office. I oversee the Anti-Corruption Unit. We handle cases of matters of election fraud, government fraud, police involved shootings, any type of misconduct or excessive use of force cases. That's what my unit handles. Prior to that, I was a 30-year veteran with the Cobb County Sheriff's Office. I'm an experienced in high-profile criminal cases. I'm also experienced in high-profile public corruption cases. I have an expertise in interviewing tough witnesses and evaluating evidence for prosecution. I've been involved in hundreds of cases throughout my legal career. I will bring a comprehensive, diverse legal experience to the Cobb District Attorney's Office if elected. The other side of what I bring to offer is administrative. I led an agency of over 800 employees with over $100 million budget. My supervisory capacity and my leadership skills compare to no one else. I will bring experience and lead the office in the manner that it should be. I have been thinking about running for office for quite some time, but I recently heard the decision to not try the Justin Ross Harris case again, and that's what led me to seek justice. If a little boy can't get justice, then who can? So I was concerned about the DA's office response to the recent police shootings, and this concerned me because I am a member of this community. I'm from this community. I'm a product of the schools of this community, not just as a person with a title. I volunteer in my community, and it's important to me. So I humbly ask, and I'm seeking office to fight for victims of this county. Thank you, Sonia Allen.
I'm going to stand up. My name is Flynn Brody, and I'm the district attorney here in Cobb County. I spent 26 years in the Army, 24 of those years in leadership positions, from administrative to combat to teaching leadership. When I came into this office, I came in with a vow that this office would be ethical, it would serve with integrity, and it would protect victims. And I have done that. We have started the Family Advocacy Center, which sole purpose is to protect victims. We have done our alternate resolution court. Sole purpose is to protect nonviolent offenders, to restore them back to the community, to continue to make this community safer. We have put away more violent criminals than ever before. In the last 3 years, we have tried over 200 trials. We have done the work to make this community safer. And right now, you live and work in the safest community in the metro area. And it's because of the work that we have done in the district attorney's office under my leadership. My opponent just said a couple of things, and I thought we weren't supposed to have personal attacks. But she said something about my decision on the Ross Harris case. My decision was based on the Supreme Court taking away a particular amount of evidence that was used to go forward. And the thing about that evidence was evidence that old prosecutors had put into place to try to overcharge someone to make sure they got a conviction. That's not the way I work. We do things ethically, we do things the right way, and we will always continue to do that. One more comment, because she said something about me. She talked about my reaction to the last police shooting.
Okay, so we want to be really respectful of everybody's time. The timekeeper has indicated stop, so thank you.
She said something about
Okay,
my
again,
last
we really
police
want to be
shooting.
respectful, so we are going to move on respectfully. Thank you.
Miss Erica, you need to let me respond because
trying to-
you allowed her to say something about me.
I did not allow her to say anything. The timekeeper has indicated stop, so we're trying to be respectful of everybody's opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Carl Bowers. I serve as a state court judge here in Cobb County. I've had the honor and privilege to serve you, the citizens of this community, in that position in state court since 2005. I've previously served this community as a magistrate judge in the late 90s, and I have also served as a prosecutor in this community. A little bit about me. The two things that define me the most: I'm a child of God saved by the blood of Jesus Christ, and I'm unwavering in that statement. Number one. Number two, I have 4 sons, and my 4 boys are 33, 30, 28, and 19. I've raised them by myself the past 12 years, and they're the reason why I do everything that I do. I live for my boys, and I live to walk before them in such a way that serves and pleases the Lord and shows them how to be a man. I ask humbly that you support me once again for re-election to Cobb State Court on May the 21st. You have elected me 5 previous times to serve in this community in that position, and I hope that you'll give me that honor once again. I have unmatched experience, frankly. I've conducted over 130 to 140 jury trials, 30 of those, give or take, as a prosecutor, and over 100 as a judge. Leadership. I served as the chief judge in Cobb State Court from October of 2019 to October of 23 during the pandemic. We kept the court open. We kept the business of the people moving. It wasn't just me. When I say we, it was all the judges, it was the prosecutor, it was the sheriff, it was the clerk's office, but we kept your business moving in a timely, efficient way, and due in part to my leadership. And you've entrusted me to the position that I hold now, and I hope that you'll continue to entrust me with that position. And I ask you humbly once again for your support on May the 21st. Thank you to Pastor Beckham, Zion, Alpha Phi Alpha, and I think it's the Center for Common Ground Justice for hosting and for allowing us to participate tonight in this event. Thank you so much.
I'll just stand here. thank you. I'll echo the thanks of the other candidates for your being here this evening. Thank you to the host organizations, and thank you to Pastor Beckham and Zion Baptist for hosting us. I'm a preacher's kid, so I'm going to go ahead and bring you greetings from Shaw Temple, AME Zion, and Smyrna, where my pastor is Eldrin Morrison. Thank you to my Shaw family for being here. I am a civil rights attorney. I'm Crystal Stevens McElrath. I'm a civil rights attorney. I am a former law firm partner. I am a seminary graduate. I am a wife, a mom. I'm the daughter of 2 Baptist ministers who are also here, and the granddaughter of 2 steel mill workers. Both of my grandfathers worked in the steel mills of Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my paternal grandfather lived with us when I was a kid, just like my father lives with me and my kids and my family now. My father's job was to slide under a train, hit a button, slide back before the train started moving. So he had to have that timing exactly right. And his legacy about doing that job sticks with me. It's a legacy, I think, of showing up, prepared, ready to do hard jobs, discerning what time it is, and being in position when needed. And I think that's the legacy that I'm bringing to this for Cobb County State Court Judge. I am showing up for the people of Cobb County. I'm ready to do hard work for the folks that I know are also working hard. I'm showing up prepared to do the hard job in this ordained time. So I hope that over the next hour, I can earn your vote on May 21st, 2024. And I thank you for listening.
I'll go stand. I'm a pacer. Hopefully I don't wander too far because I don't have a lot of room here. My name is Matt McMaster, and I was born in Southern California. Don't hold that against me. Moved here when I was 6. Went from kindergarten through 12th grade all through Cobb County schools, the Cobb County school system. Went to Georgia State University on a cross country and track scholarship. Then I moved to Michigan. I will never live there again. I was there for 6 years. I went to law school. Great people, great place, beautiful. But for 3 months out of the year, it's bearable. The other 9, it's not worth it. That's where my wife's from. Moved to Midland, Michigan after law school, and then where I was coaching track and soccer and teaching. And my wife and I moved down here back down here in 2012. I was in IT and computers for quite some time. I left the corporate world because I was just tired of seeing into the future. I could, being in the computers and having vision of the entire company, I could see, hey, don't do this because we're going to go right off a cliff, or you're going to hurt the company. And then I realized that the executives were acting in their self-interest, not interests of the company. So I left the corporate world to be a lawyer, and it just got worse. So I focus on civil litigation and practice in over 20 counties. And I just got tired of asking, who's the judge, who's the attorney, when really the facts in the law are what should matter. And so I decided 2 years ago to make a change, and I ran against an incumbent, and here I am doing the same. Thank you.
All right, so now we move on to the question and answer portion of this show. So I'm going to actually start with the state court judges. In your current role, what characteristics do you possess that are most aligned with the needs of the people? So we'll start.
Will you repeat that, please? Thank you.
So in your current role, what characteristics do you possess that are most aligned with the needs of the people?
I believe I'm a person of integrity and transparency. If you ask me a question, I'll give you an answer. I think people ask hard questions and they're entitled to receive a direct, straight answer. As I mentioned before, I think as a public servant, people desire to have those with experience serve in the roles, and particularly the role for which I seek once again to be your state court judge. As I mentioned, I have 19 years experience, or almost 19 years experience in state court. I served 4 years as a full-time chief magistrate in the late 1990s. I believe in treating people fairly. Equal protection clause of the Constitution compels all of us to treat people with one another. No one should be deprived of person, property, or liberty without equal protection of law. I strive in my life, not just as a judge, but more importantly in my life, to treat people with fairness and with dignity and with equality. And I believe all those attributes translate very well to serving as a state court judge. I listen to people, whether someone has an attorney or not. You cannot serve as a judge without first listening. You have to know the law, and you have to be willing to apply the law to those facts and then reaching a decision. And I have no trouble making hard decisions. That's what judges are called to do at times. And so I think all of those attributes or skills are ones that I possess that lend themselves to doing the work of a state court judge.
I think one of the traits or characteristics that best allows me to align with the needs of people is my ability to see people. Part of that does involve listening, but just to be able to sit with someone and take in who they are, where they are, meet a person where they are. You know, I will say, like I said, I've come from steel mill workers and I understand law firm partners. I made the crazy decision to get a law degree and a theology degree at the same time. I went to fantastic schools, but I worked 2 jobs at the same time the whole way through. I understand intersections. I understand that people are not one-dimensional. We are complicated. There's more to a person than ever meets the eye. And to be able to bring equity to a courtroom, you have to be able to see people where they are, bring them into the process so they can be meaningfully engaged in their legal case. In my career at a 175-person law firm and in litigation, I would walk into a room, I'd take a deposition, and seeing people meant that I addressed the person by their last name. No matter my degree, no matter who we thought we were in that room, a JD doesn't mean that I don't call you Mr. Brody or Mr. Allen throughout the whole deposition, to acknowledge the people, to see them. In my work in the civil rights space, seeing people means that we are, as a state court judge, it means explaining the legal process to people so that they can meaningfully engage and understand what's going on around them right where they are.
I'll repeat the question, the one I have here. It's what characteristics do I possess that are most aligned with the needs of the people? I'll say, I'll use the buzzwords, empathy, self-awareness, that sort of thing. But what also goes with that, because you can't always put yourself in someone else's shoes, it's literally impossible because people come from all walks of life, but is to be self-aware that I can't put myself in their shoes. So while I'm running to be a judge, I actually would make a conscious effort not to be so judgmental and go out of my way to be objective. I think I think one issue a lot of judges have is they're detached from the people they're judging. Again, that self-awareness thing I just talked about, and you can't put yourself in someone's shoes. And I actually don't want to be a judge, and that's hard for people to understand. I compare it to spanking my child. I don't want to do that. I don't want to punish my child. But if my child's going to run in the road, I do want to strike the fear of God in my child so it doesn't happen again. So I'm running, not because I believe I should be the guy with the robe telling people what to do or because I want power, but because I want to be the judge that I wanted, that I want. And that is a characteristic that I think I have that will connect most with the people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Moving on to the candidates for district attorney. Both of you have referenced restorative justice. This term can have different meanings to different peoples. What is your definition for what you have done? And this question is for the incumbent, or what you will do for the challenger if put into practice.
Okay, so the idea of restorative justice, I believe, comes from earlier cultures where you had the elders in the community that would bring the people together and bring them to some type of they would discuss their conflicts and then they would have a resolution to their conflicts. So similarly, a prosecutor's job is to seek justice. Prosecutor's job is to advocate for victims' rights. A prosecutor's job is to advocate for the defendant's rights. But for me, it starts and ends with the victims. Restorative justice is an approach to justice that focuses on rehabilitation. I feel that even with some juvenile offenders and offenders who have crimes that are nonviolent in nature, those cases can be mediated. They can be receive rehabilitation. They can go to counseling. They can do all those things, and they can do those things through programs such as diversion programs, the accountability courts, and that's kind of where restorative justice comes into play. However, I'm a firm believer that if you are someone who is out there committing a violent crime, that you will be held to the fullest penalty of the law. Nonviolent offenders, there's evidence that shows that victims that go through the process of restorative justice, that they have less trauma. They deal with the situation better. There's evidence that shows that offenders who violate crimes and go through some type of restorative program, such as diversion and those things where they get to know like what caused them to commit these crimes and what the underlying issue is, they are less likely to commit a crime. But violent criminals will not escape the full punishment of the law. It only works when people take responsibility for their actions.
Can I get you to repeat the question again?
Yes, so both of you have referenced restorative justice. This term can have different meanings to different people. What is your definition for what you have put into practice?
I like to term it responsible restorative justice. And the focus is on nonviolent offenders to do the work as a community to promote their reintegration into the community. Because I think that's critical. One of the most important things that we have to understand as prosecutors is that everybody we send to jail eventually will come back to the community. And what are we doing to prepare them to come back to the community as a productive citizen? In the past, the criminal justice system has been so focused on punitive justice, which all the data and the research shows just creates more and better criminals. There's a fact that most people don't know, is that 20% of the criminals commit 80% of the crimes. And if we as a community can embrace that 20%, restore them back to the community as productive citizens, we can make our community safer. Because the ultimate goal of the prosecutor is to enhance public safety, to do whatever we can do to make sure that our communities are safe. And a focus on restorative justice, responsible restorative justice, has been proven through research that it works, that it reduces recidivism rates from 50 and 60% down to 10 and 15%. That's how we make the community safer. We have done many things to do that. The first was our alternate resolution court, which I spoke about before. What it does, it takes all nonviolent offenders, only nonviolent offenders, and it gives them an opportunity to do something productive, to do and uncover the issues that brought them to the criminal justice system, and to make sure that we correct them and put them back on a path to being a productive citizen. Over 1,200 cases a year go through our alternative resolution court. And we complete those cases in a term of 9 to 12 months, where usually those cases take a year just to get drug results back. So we are doing the work to prepare this county to receive them back as productive citizens, to restore them back to the community so they don't continue to commit further crimes. That's what responsible restorative justice is. As far as nonviolent offenders, my family lives in this community. And I want this community to be the safest community possible because I want my daughter to be able to grow up and be able to enjoy all that Cobb has to offer. So when it comes to responsible restorative justice, we are focused on restoring those that should be restored. And for those who should go to jail for a long time, we are doing the work to make sure that happens, just as I talked about before, where we have tried over 200 cases over the past 3 years, more than any other period in the district attorney's office. Thank you.
Okay, now to the judicial candidates. How does the state court judge differ from other courts? What qualities and characteristics do you possess that support your run for state court judge?
Well, there are 5 types of basic courts within the structure of county government. I'm not talking about like Marietta, where we are tonight, has a municipal court, but within the county government, you have probate court, juvenile court, magistrate court, state court, and superior court. They all have unique responsibilities. I see 2 of our superior court judges sitting out here, Judge Hill and Judge Brown. We've talked about equity tonight. They possess equitable powers. A state court judge does not. We hear many of the same type cases on the civil side of the docket that a superior court judge would hear, with the exception of divorce cases. We hear criminal misdemeanor cases in state court. We don't hear felony cases as are heard in superior court. I was a magistrate judge at one point in time. Magistrate courts hear probable cause hearings, typically set bonds and matters such as that. Juvenile court hears matters for those under the age of 17. And then probate court handles typically matters involving probate issues, wills and trusts. They issue marriage licenses there and firearms licenses. So each of the courts has their own unique niche, if you will, within the court system. Having served in 2 of those and having worked also in superior court in my time as a professional here in Cobb County, going back to 1989, again, I point to my experience in the diversity of types of cases that I've handled, including in private practice, both of a civil nature and a criminal nature, that lend themselves to me, I believe, serving as a state court judge and having the attributes to listen to people, listen to attorneys, and listen to those people choosing to represent themselves, and apply the law to those facts to reach a just and equitable decision.
I won't repeat what's already been said about the limited jurisdiction of the state court, but I will add that it's a court with high volume. It's where most people will first encounter the legal system. And so in a way, you could call it a community court. It is because of the volume of our community members that go through state court that I'm running. I am a person who can make others feel safe in the space that I'm in. I am calm, I'm measured, I'm steady, but I'm also committed and passionate. And the communities that I serve at the SPLC know that. I enjoy working with them and enjoy engaging folks in the community to really participate in the legal system. At the same time, I have a lot of respect for the rule of law. I'm a bit of a nerd. I'm a researcher, I'm a writer, and the folks at my law firm would give me the hardest assignments or the toughest cases for that reason. I know that respect for the law also means upholding the highest ideals of the law, and I think the highest ideals of the law come back to community. So my temperament, my even-keeled nature, my genuine enjoyment of engaging with community, and my enjoyment of really getting into briefs and the points of the law, I think all make me well suited to be your next Cobb County State Court judge.
Yeah, I don't need to repeat the whole jurisdiction aspect of the question. It doesn't have the highest jurisdiction, but it's higher than small claims, I'll say that. Probably the biggest characteristic that I think is most important for this role that I possess and I guess I already said it, is my willingness to do something I don't want to do, do something against my self-interest. I don't want to be in this election. I don't want to be a judge. But you'll never see me be critical of a waiter, a waitress, a janitor, because I'm not willing to step in their shoes. And I'm very critical about Cobb's judiciary. I'm critical about the state of Georgia's judiciary. And I wouldn't do that so publicly if I wasn't willing to put my neck out there and put myself in an election. So that's the characteristic I bring, and I think all judges need to bring, and that's the willingness to do something that goes against their self-interest when it's the right thing to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next question for the district attorney, the incumbent and the challenger. Has the recent legislation impacted the role for which you're running? If so, discuss how it impacts you specifically. I think we can go in the reverse.
The first bill that has really brought attention to the district attorney's office is SB 332. And that bill is designed to basically control prosecutors as to taking away their discretion as to what they will prosecute. And what it does for us, it really takes away our ability to address the issues that our county feels is important. One of the things that they want to control is access to abortion. They want to control our diversion programs. They want to control what charges we decide not to prosecute. They want to make sure that we look at every single case, but that's something we're already doing. We look at every single case. We look at every situation. And I want to talk about abortion for just a second, because it's something that's very dear to me. I don't condone abortions, but I do believe in pro-choice, because the law allows us as prosecutors not to prosecute if it's a medical issue. And I don't know if anybody knows, but the maternal mortality rate here in Georgia is one of the worst in the country. I think we're 49 out of 50. And it's personal to me because I almost lost my wife giving birth. When you're sitting in that room and the doctor is telling you, if it comes down to it, your wife or your daughter, those are decisions I need to make, not the state of Georgia. So SB 332 should not be on the books. The next one is Senate Bill 63, which talks about cash bond. That's another one that's going to affect our ability to do a diversion court, to do accountability courts, to get people into those courts in a timely manner. Because the research says the sooner you get people into treatment, the better the results that you will get. And what it basically is, a war on poor people, forcing them to pay cash bond for particular offenses that would normally be bondable, be able to get out on a judicial relief bond is wrong, because not everybody's in a position to pay bond. And when we decide that the criminal justice system is about who's got the money, we're going in the wrong direction. So those are two of the bills that affect the way that we're going to be able to do business in the future.
So I agree with the current DA on both of those bills. However, I have another aspect that I believe it impacts me. My view is that I'm a Black woman, and it seems as though Black females have become a bullseye for recent legislation. I started my career over 30 years ago as a Black female in law enforcement. I have dealt with many obstacles when it came to my race, when it came to my gender. And so to see what is happening today with recent legislation that I believe is nothing but an attack on rising Black women. I feel that it is a means to block the voice of the voters. I believe that there is no committee sitting at the Capitol that can tell the will of the people of these communities. So to do something to try to overturn the voice of the people in our community, to all of a sudden have a need for oversight when there never existed oversight before, I feel that that will have a great impact in the role that I'm running for. I embrace transparency. But like I said before, I think that this is an attack on the people's voice, and it must not happen.
Okay, thank you for that. So now we will go to the audience questions, and this question will be for the judicial candidates, and we can start answering the questions in the reverse. For the gentleman on the end, you can start with this question. And I'm gonna take this question and I'm gonna tweak it a little bit because this is kind of personal to me. As an attorney, during COVID, we've all seen that technology has kind of changed how we practice law, how judges adjudicate. What are your plans, particularly in light of the pandemic, to keep the use of technology moving forward in order to make the judicial process more efficient? Because what I have found just through anecdotal evidence from other lawyers and other judges is that you have fewer notice of conflicts from attorneys. You have more participation from litigants because they have better access to courts. So what are your plans moving forward to implement the use of technology to make the judicial process more efficient?
Okay, so I used to work in computers and IT, so this is a great question that I'm happy to answer. All technology is, it's a solution to a problem, that's it. And it evolves and it gets better and better. And as technology gets better, you see problems that you never thought could have existed. The smartphone versus a flip phone. We thought flip phones were awesome. Then we have the smartphone and my screen won't swipe or it's cracked. Those were things that we never fathomed. So whatever technology we have now, it will get better. And there will be more problems to solve with technology. I would say, I guess I'm good at identifying problems and coming up with solutions. And I think my IT background also would enable me to have ideas that other people, it wouldn't even cross their mind, because I have such an in-depth knowledge of technology. But all it is a solution to a problem. And I'll keep finding problems. I'm good at that. And I'll keep finding solutions. I'm good at that too. Thank you.
Yeah, I was also practicing during the pandemic, of course. I had my second child during the pandemic. I was 13 weeks pregnant when they sent us home. And so my pandemic baby and I were on Zoom trying cases. She was 5 weeks pregnant in a rocker next to me while I pushed the foot and, proceeded with the litigation on camera. There's a whole industry that has come up now around technology to make the court system efficient and to make it something that we can access no matter where we are. I think that's important because access to justice, of course, is very much dependent upon people's ability to engage from wherever they are, whether that be in between jobs, at home, without transportation to the courthouse, however it may look in individual situations. So I think that we keep up with the technology. I'll defer to the experts. I'll employ the best resources available and make sure that the legal process and the legal proceedings are indeed accessible to everyone who needs to be able to be meaningfully engaged.
The Cobb County Board of Commissioners, when the pandemic visited us in March of 2020, supplied the courts with technology that's incomparable, in my opinion, within the governmental institution to be able to allow the courts to continue to move your business, the people's business. As a judge, I've conducted literally hundreds of electronic hearings. In state court, the county supports the WebEx electronic or remote platform. So we use WebEx, and I've literally conducted hundreds of hearings of both a criminal and a civil nature. Now with the pandemic largely subsiding and people certainly moving about in general more freely, more and more hearings are conducted face to face, so to speak. But I still conduct every 7th Monday a civil motions calendar when I'm the presiding judge, which I'll be once again on Monday, May 13th. And that calendar is conducted and always has been since, well, roughly the end of 2020 in a remote fashion. The lawyers like it. They can sit in their office, they can sit in their house, they can sit wherever they want and conduct a hearing. There's no evidence required. It's simply a legal argument, and it lends itself perfectly to that remote hearing. When a criminal defendant lives in, let's say, Minnesota, I took a plea not too long ago from a criminal defendant that lived in the state of Minnesota. The lawyer said, "Can we do this remotely, Judge Bowers?" I said, "Absolutely." So we did. It allows that person not to have to spend money to, to catch on an airplane ticket to come down here, complete that case, and move on down the line and handle other business. So technology is a fabulous opportunity. We embrace it in the court system. We embrace it in state court and Superior Court, all the courts, and it's helped us greatly to continue to move your business, again, the people's business.
Thank you. This question is for the district attorney candidates. What plans do each of you have for the future of the district attorney's office? And I'll just expand upon that a little bit. Do you have any strategies to build upon any existing programs that you have? To that end, are there any new initiatives that we can expect to see? We'll start with Sal.
Can you repeat the question? I'm sorry.
The question was, what plans do each of you have for the future of the district attorney's office? So with specificity, are there any strategies that you will build upon that are in currently existing programs? To that end, are there any new initiatives that we can expect to see?
So as a newly elected district attorney, I believe that several plans would be in place as far as, the turnover of the office. If I was to become district attorney, there would be plans that I have in place that would revamp how officer shooting cases are presented to grand juries and investigated. Those cases would go through a process that is what I do majority of my time at the district attorney's office in Fulton. We get those cases and we start the investigation all over again. We wait for files to come in from the investigating agencies, the GBI. We start our investigations. We interview every person. We speak to the families. We speak to the officers. We speak to their representatives. We make our decisions as to whether or not we will proceed or not proceed with a case before presenting to a grand jury. So we investigate from bottom to the top. We take it before the DA and we present what we have. If there is not enough evidence to show where anyone has committed a crime, then we don't proceed with the case. If there's evidence that shows that a crime has been committed, then we make that decision to indict. We indict with a criminal grand jury. We go forward and we do not have grand jurors tell us if there's evidence that should be investigated or not. We present to them, we advise them of the charges that the officers or whomever it may be have violated, and we present to them for closure. If we receive the true bill, we move forward with the pretrial process, and we will go forward in that manner. We will not present to special grand juries and see what they think. We will have all the evidence and we will present that process, I believe, protects the officers as well as the families. Throughout that whole process, we meet time and time again with victims' families. We bring them in, they have community representatives, and they will come in and we will give them the facts. Sometimes it's hard, sometimes they want the officers to be charged, but sometimes there's not enough information, not enough evidence for it to be there. So plans such as that, I believe that there needs to be more community involvement. There needs to be programs such as the Junior DA program. I would like to begin that with our office. I would like to have a REACH program, and I would also like to have some type of oversight for transparency and accountability. There are many community leaders in this county that can come in and assist with decisions and things like that that go on in the DI's office. So.
First, addressing the grand jury issue. The law allows a grand jury to be presented in two different ways. One allows for a court reporter to be present, the other one doesn't. When you do the grand jury the way that we currently do, there's a court reporter present. All the evidence that's presented is written down and accessible to the public. We do it that way for transparency purposes, because when you do it the other way, it's not transparent. You don't get an answer because you can't pick up what the grand jury says. Grand jury proceedings are normally secret. So that's why we do it the way we do. And we do it that way because then when there's a questionable question, I can bring in our community leaders to review the evidence, to see what's been presented to the grand jury, so there's complete transparency on our office's part. We don't allow political games to take or make our decisions, and we don't allow our biases to make our decisions. We do it the right way each and every time. We are working on putting together a conviction integrity unit to review cases. I've already spoken with two of our community leaders. We're putting plans together to make sure we go forward with that. And we're doing that with a citizen review panel, once again, to have transparency in all that we do in the district attorney's office. Because what I have and what I have done with this office is made sure that we are a beacon of integrity, a beacon of equity. You're not going to see us destroy evidence. You're not going to see us destroy computers to hide things that we have done in the past. You won't see that from our office. We are always going to do things the right way. We already have a REACH program. We work with students from Cobb County high schools, and we sponsor one of them through their 4 years of high school to work with the REACH program. We are expanding our All Pro Dad program, where we're in the schools getting fathers involved to make sure our kids have every opportunity to be successful. We've done that in South Cobb. We are working with our community engagement to make sure that we're doing the reading programs, we're doing the second chance desk, we're doing the things that's going to continue to make our community safe. Because my whole goal is the kids on South Cobb Drive have every chance of success as the kids that go to Walton High School. And the only way we can do that is to be in those schools, to be talking to those fathers, to be making a difference in their lives. And my office is doing that. Crime is going down in Cobb County. And I'll say it again, Cobb County is the safest county in the entire metro area.
Thank you. This question is for the judicial candidates. We all know that the world stopped and court stopped for a very long time. We had a lot of standing orders. That created a backlog. So things kind of got pushed back. What is your plan as judge to reduce that backlog and get things back on track? And for this one, we'll start, Ms. McGower, because you're in the middle, so I'm going to take a point of moderator privilege and allow you to have a question to answer first.
Well, I think the backlog has made significant progress. It's my understanding that there is not currently still a backlog in the state court. And okay. So I just, if anybody wants to clarify the question, My understanding, and Judge, there, there is backlog.
I can get an answer to you. I'm gonna take two. Can I answer?
Sure, go ahead.
Well, first of all, Judge Hill's right. And it's to the efforts of folks like Judge Hill and Judge Brown and all of their colleagues in Superior Court and all of my colleagues in the state court. There is no backlog. The courts never closed. We never closed. Now, there were periods of time when we couldn't do many, many things, to be sure, but the courthouses never closed. Now, that cannot be said of other jurisdictions. And I don't mean that to be critical of any other jurisdiction. I truly do not mean that to be critical of any other jurisdiction, but Cobb County stayed open. In Cobb County, we worked. We did matters in our chambers, the judges did, when we couldn't conduct court. But as soon as we could conduct court, we came up with plans to spread people out, to adhere to the mandates imposed upon us by the Chief Justice of the Georgia Supreme Court, then Justice Harold Melton, whose mother is here tonight, by the way. We adhered to all of those restrictions, social distancing, masking, having safety precautions put into place to ensure that, again, the people's business, your business, was handled in a timely fashion. And as Judge Hill correctly points out, and I'll reiterate it, there is no backlog in Cobb County. Thank you.
That deserves a round of applause.
Well, let me add to that. The prosecutors, the DA's office, the solicitor's office, the clerk's office, the sheriff's office, all of those entities, the circuit defender's office, all of the court partners with the court, to be sure, participated in all of that. It's not just because of the effort of judges. I didn't mean to portray it that way. If I did, and if I did, I apologize to anybody that may have been offended. But it was the effort of all the courthouse partners that came together in the plan, excuse me, in the planning to result in no backlog. Thank you.
There is no backlog.
And that is, listen, I'm gonna just tell you, that is an amazing accomplishment, because I have cases that have been filed that we're looking at 3 or 4 years in, so shout out to Cobb County. All right, this question is for the district attorneys and the challenger. How important is it for the DA's office to foster relationships with the Superior Court bench, the Magistrate Court bench, and the Circuit Defender's office to promote justice? And what do you plan to do concerning it? We'll start, I think we started Ms. Allen last, we'll start Mr. Brody.
It is very important because we all work together. Just Judge Bauer just said, and to clear the backlog, we had to work together. We had to do things and work together to make that happen. The things that we do right now, let me describe our second chance desk. It took a collaboration between our Superior Court judges, our state court judges, our state court clerk, and our Superior Court clerk and the Circuit Defender's office to make that happen. And what the second chance desk does, it allows offenders who have misdemeanors that are over 4 years old to come in and get them restricted and sealed from their record, so they can get good jobs, they can get good housing, and they can continue to restore their lives back to this community. We have helped over 2,000 individuals clear, restrict, and seal their records. That's a phenomenal number. Those are Cobb Countyans who are now on their path to being great citizens in this community. And it took a collaboration between all of us. Another collaboration is our diversion and our accountability courts. And I got to give a special shout out to Judge Hill, who has a Pinnacle program. Her Pinnacle program takes people that don't normally qualify for diversion and accountability courts and allows them to go through a 1-year program, an intense program. And at the completion of that program, through cooperation with our office, we dismiss their charges, giving them an opportunity to reset their life and do the things that they need to do to be productive citizens. We don't get that if we don't work together. That's critical. When it comes to responsive restorative justice, I have to work with the judges because technically they're their cases once they're indicted or accused. And we work with them to make sure that those people who deserve a second chance get that second chance. And the fact is, when I first came on board, I looked at every single murderer that we had in our caseload. And there were two things that I noticed. One, those who had a domestic violence situation, we didn't have a track record of what they did in the past. But for those who weren't domestic violence, there was a track record that showed that they escalated up the criminal justice system. And there was nothing done to intervene until they came to the point where they became somebody we were afraid of and murdered or raped or harmed somebody. Well, when we can work with judges, when we can collaborate, we can stop that right at the beginning through our diversion and our accountability courts and programs like Pinnacle, so we can make sure these people don't become dangerous and can come back to the community as productive citizens, once again, making us the safest county in all the metro area.
And can you repeat the question?
How important is it for the DA's office to foster relationships with the Superior Court bench, the Magistrate Court bench, the Circuit Defender's Office to promote justice, and what do you plan to do concerning it?
So earlier, we did speak about restorative justice, and for me, I believe that it is imperative that for me, once I get into office, is to go through the cases and determine how people are assigned to courtrooms, the attorneys that are assigned to the courtrooms. You have to look at cases from, I believe, on a front end, so that the cases aren't sitting in the office without, you may have somebody who goes to jail, they get out of jail and their case sits there. Well, some of those cases may not be viable cases. A crime may have been committed, but you may not have someone or a person that has been identified as a defendant, or that there might not be the type of evidence necessary to go through the whole process. So it takes collaboration on the front end, so it reduces the number of cases that you have assigned to DAs that are assigned to courtrooms. I think collaborating with the Superior Court, the magistrate, the clerk's office, all of those offices, you have to work together. Getting cases before a judge, sometimes we have excellent judges in Cobb County, I'd like to say, but sometimes, having an attorney that's assigned to a courtroom and knowing that calendar, so that you don't have cases where inmates have been brought up to court to go to court, they never get to see the judge, or the wrong person has been out there. It takes so much collaboration just for the process to work. It doesn't just start with the DA's office. It takes the clerks in the courtroom. It takes the sheriff's office. It takes magistrate. We have backlogs of cases where pre-indictment, post-arrest, those cases sometimes can sit there. And so I think sometimes judges have dual roles. They divide their courtrooms out, or they'll bring in senior judges that can come in and look at calendars to see what the status is of those cases that haven't been indicted, to kind of give the DA's office an indication of where they need to be going with their cases. So I believe it is a collaborative effect. One can't work without the other. Most importantly is getting people's cases processed. And I think the DA's office, the clerk's office, the magistrate, those people have to work together. If you have someone who's arrested, who's out on an ankle monitor, who's sitting at home waiting to go to court, paying for an ankle monitor, $400 a month, is that fair to them? When you look at the case, you find that that person case can't even be tried. It takes a front-end approach. It takes scrutiny throughout the process, pre-trial, pre-indictment, and then on the far end of it. We have programs like pre-trial diversion, pre-indictment diversion. So sometimes people don't need to go through the entire process. I'll end, but thank you.
Thank you. For the judicial candidates, and Ms. McElroy, we'll start with you again. Most judges have a different philosophy on the role of the law clerk. What's your position? What do you think the role of the law clerk is, and how do you plan to utilize yours?
I served as a law clerk to 2 federal judges and found that to be a really impactful experience. One of the judges told me that he felt it was the duty of the judge to figure out the truth, and it was the job of the attorneys before him to help him figure that out, not just be arguing for ego, not be just trying to win the case, but to truly be pointing the court towards the right answer. And I think the law clerk comes in there at a critical moment where the law clerk is able to do the additional research and to help kind of hold up the judge's arms. And so while a judge has to keep a courtroom moving day in and day out through from, 9 to 5 or whatever the motions and trial calendars might set, the law clerk is the person who's able to really supplement them that time, give them a few extra hours, right? And we all kind of want some extra hours and extra hands in a day. And that's exactly what the law clerk can be. And so I think that the opportunity to have good, strong assistant law clerks assisting you and supporting you and really making you look good is just priceless. And so I would hope to rely on a law clerk to be a partner in the endeavor of really making the right decisions, making equitable and just rulings in my courtroom. And
So I interpret the word law clerk to not be the clerk of the court, but to be the staff attorney. That's how Ms. McElrath answered it. So I'll answer it the same. My view of the staff attorney or the law clerk is that they are an extension of the judge. I would say part of the judge's brain, really. So anything your staff attorney does or your law clerk, that's you own it. They're just a part of you to make your job easier and more efficient. At the same time, you have to manage your law clerk. Be wary that, they do have an independent mind. And so you are responsible for anything your law clerk does as well. So while they're very helpful, they are definitely someone that needs to be managed. And as a judge, you have to know that you are responsible for them. But I guess the big picture answer is they're just another part of your brain and an extra tool to help you do your job. That's it. Thank you.
I served as a law clerk, now referred to as a staff attorney, when I first came to Cobb Superior Court back in the dark ages, back in 1989. It was a great way for me to embark upon my legal career. As a judge now, I've had a staff attorney since 2010, when I've been in the Division I of State Court. And the first thing I try to do with my staff attorney is establish a personal relationship, a friendship. I don't mean an inappropriate personal relationship, but I mean a friendship. I don't view that person as a tool or as part of my brain. I want them to have the ability to suggest to me something that I might not have thought of, something that may be the opposite of what they might think that I would ordinarily see in a particular case. I want them to be able to argue the opposite of something that I might present to them, so that the court consider the whole panoply of the legal and factual considerations there before it reaches any conclusion. My staff attorney is a wonderful person. She has served as a staff attorney in the Court of Appeals. She's very knowledgeable. She's very skilled in legal matters, both civil and criminal, although she primarily assists me in civil matters. She assists in the overall efficiency of the office and is prepared to assist the court with bench briefs and trial matters, evidentiary issues, motions hearings. There are any number of ways in which the staff attorney can be invaluable in assisting a court in moving the court's business and in pointing out legal issues, legal problems, perhaps even at times competing cases that the appellate courts have reached that make it a thorny issue for a court to decide. And so a staff attorney is certainly invaluable in my humble opinion, in the effective running of a judicial office.
So our last question will be posed to all candidates, and we'll end it on a very light note. And this question comes from the president of the Cobb Alphas. And I want to tweak it just a little bit. The original question is, if you had any superpower, what would it be and why? But I'm going to say, if you had any superpower, how would you use it to better serve the people of Cobb County? And so we'll just start with Ms. Allen and work our way down.
For these purposes, if I had a superpower, I'd like to predict the future. That would be great. But I think in this case, just knowing the type of person I am and knowing how I like to help people, it would have to be some type of power that would give me the ability to help all people, almost maybe a superpower that where I could make 3 of me, so that I could spend time doing things that I like to do as far as hobbies. But I'm a workaholic. I work can till can't, so I never have the time that I need to do the things that for myself. So if that was a superpower, I would say to maybe duplicate myself or duplicate my ability to help. There's so many people that I've encountered over the past 34 years in the work that I do, whether it's been from a law enforcement perspective, whether it's been as working in the DA's office. And sometimes you listen to people and you kind of just wish that you had that ability to help. I mean, it just takes help sometimes. Sometimes when people get in trouble, it's just because they needed somebody to help them. And if there was a way that I could just wrap my arms around the community to help, I would do that. I would want that no one would get hurt, that we would all be safe, that we could go outside, pump gas freely and feel safe while doing that. So I don't know what the actual name of a superpower that would be, but if there was something that I could do to help that, I would. Also, as far as victims are concerned, I wish there was a way to help victims with the things that they go through emotionally. I know that sometimes what happens to people can impact them later in life, and it goes on forever. So if there's a way to reverse time and make things not happen to people, that would be another superpower. So other than that, money makes the world go round. Money would let us hire as many people as we needed to do the jobs that we need them to do. And it would end, I guess, suffering with people who don't have means, and it could kind of make things a little more equitable. You know, you have people who have all the money in the world who, you know, seemingly get a lot of breaks, and then you have people who can't afford the things that other people can, and they just have to go with what's given to them. They have to use services that are just provided for them, or they don't have the same connections and ties to make things happen. So I don't know what superpower that is, but if I had it, I would definitely use it to ensure our safety and restore the health and wellness of everybody. So thank you.
I truly believe everybody has a superpower. And Martin Luther King said it best. We can all be great because we can all do what? We can all serve. That's what our superpower is. And I'm trying to use my superpower to get rid of childhood trauma. Because if I can remove childhood trauma from this world, can you imagine what every kid could become? Could you imagine the world we would live in? It would be safe. We wouldn't have crime. We wouldn't have those things that we worry about now if we could remove the world of childhood trauma. And we're working to do that. We've started the Family Advocacy Center for the sole purpose of helping victims, especially those of domestic violence. Because what we want to be able to do is, when you're a victim of domestic violence, don't wait till the 8th or 9th time to report it. Don't wait till you feel like your life is in danger. Seek the help that you need. And that's what the Family Advocacy Center is designed to do. A place where you can go and get the resources you need to get away from your abuser. And when you get away from your abuser and you remove your children from that situation, you stop some of that childhood trauma. Because we already know those kids exposed to childhood trauma, they're more prone to drop out of school. They're more prone to use drugs. They're more prone to get involved with the criminal justice system. So that's the work that we're doing right now through our Family Advocacy Center. It's on 277 Fairgrounds Road. It's open from 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. And its sole purpose is to help victims, to give them an opportunity to get away from their abuser, to get the resources, no matter what it is they may need, to reduce childhood trauma. That's my superpower.
I agree with what Mr. Brody just said. We all are unique creatures, not special, but unique creatures created by the good Lord. And we all are possessed with unique strengths and abilities and talents. And when we lean into that and into that understanding, then we can do and we can accomplish fabulous things individually and then corporately or together or as one. And we can end some of the ills that we all understand society is afflicted with. Mr. Brody just referenced childhood trauma. If we could all come together and apply money in positive ways to seek an even faster cure for cancer, which has afflicted my family in many ways and many of your families, and Alzheimer's disease. We all have superpowers. We have to tap into those. They're not superpowers like Superman. We can't fly. We can't, we don't have X-ray vision, but we're all endowed with these gifts from our Creator. And when we are able to lean into that and to collaborate with others that have other unique abilities and talents and serve one another and strive to do something positive, I think that would be the superpower that I would most like to be able to work with others and to share with others to bring about something good. Thank you.
I would pick time travel. I would want to go back in time. I would use that yesterday. I put my kid on the bus when it was a late start day. The bus driver apparently forgot too. So the bus driver and my oldest kid were the only ones on the bus 2 hours early. I'd go back in time and get some more sleep yesterday morning. I would use it in my communities I serve that are struggling with water crises in Jackson, Mississippi, and Pritchard, Alabama. And I'd go back in time to when those pipes started failing. And I would see about getting some money allocated before they got to the point where the pipes were leaking and were taking or allowing contaminants into the water, driving up their water bills while they can't even. And I would use it as a state court judge to offer a chance to maybe rethink some decisions. Maybe somebody before they hopped in that car, maybe it would give them a chance to whether they can get an Uber or call a friend. So time travel for my babies, for my community health, and for some of the folks who might find themselves having made a poor decision that wound up landing them in Cobb County State Court.
They took all the good ones. So I would fly because that would be a lot of fun, but I'll pick one that would really help the community. On a macro scale, I would control. Because I think the world would be a better place if everybody thought like me. And I'd be selling myself short if I said otherwise. Thank you.
Thank you. So we will now start with our closing arguments. As a reminder, everybody will have 2 minutes each. Is it 3 minutes? It's, okay. You're right, 3 minutes for the closing. So we will go in this order: McMaster, McElrath, Bowers, Brody, and Allen. So we're going in the reverse order. Mr. McMaster?
First of all, thank you all for coming. Before I forget, I think this election, this particular one, this state court Division I Post 7, I think we have three great candidates here. My goal is change, and I don't have to win. I know that sounds like loser talk. I don't have to win to bring change. Am of the opinion that an incumbent who goes their whole career never challenged, they never make a change that I think an incumbent that does get challenged would make. And I think uh, an incumbent post-challenge will be a different person than an incumbent pre-challenge. So I think no matter who you vote for, you're going to get a change, a positive change. You don't have to vote for a challenger to get change. I think change is coming no matter what. I would like incumbents challenged every election. I think that's good for them. I'm not an incumbent. Maybe someday I will be, and I'll think differently. Right now, that's my view. I do appreciate everyone for coming. Thank you.
The majority of Cobb residents don't see themselves in the judiciary in Georgia or Cobb County, or in the small circles that have held power, appointing the judges to those benches for years now. A lot has changed since 1989 or 2005. The systems that were never designed to include us don't change themselves. And that kind of change requires intentionality. It requires courage. It requires someone who is willing to step up and do the hard jobs, like I said, for the people of Cobb County who are working hard. It also requires someone who can see people while also recognizing that the system doesn't always see us. And so, as I said, I know that a steel mill worker and a law firm partner can both find themselves in Cobb County State Court for a DUI. And I know that both will deserve to be seen as a whole human being. I know that either of them can decide to take on sobriety if that's appropriate, if a judge believes in them. I know that a person who makes the choice to confront their abuser can walk away from that court experience feeling empowered, feeling like they've taken power back. If there's a judge that's committed to fair and efficient, empowering administration of justice. And it is my hope to be that person for Cobb County State Court. I am running to be a judge who will ensure the people of Cobb County can trust their judges to do just that: fair, efficient, empowering administration of justice, regardless of someone's background, socioeconomic class, family, political connections, with no exceptions. So I would be honored to have your vote on May 21st. If my platform is something that you can get behind right away, I have lots of opportunities for you to volunteer and help me get the word out in Cobb County. We've got yard signs and t-shirts in the back, and I'd be happy to answer any more questions that you have. And for those watching at home, you can find me at my website and on all the social media handles at Crystal, CRYSTAL, or FOR Cobb on all those platforms.
I want to thank you all tonight for listening to us talk. I want to thank again the church and everyone for welcoming us here tonight. I have served you as a state court judge. That's 2005. I would very much appreciate the opportunity if you would vote for me on May the 21st and give me that opportunity to continue to make those hard decisions, to show up every day and move a backlog, to see and to listen to people and to hear their struggles and hear what they want to say and how they wish to present themselves, and to listen to their lawyers as their lawyers advocate for them, and to be respectful of all people and all the positions that these people put before a court, whether they have a lawyer or not. I've done these things. I've done these things for the past 18 and a half years. I would love to continue to do that. I have the experience. I have the leader. I believe I demonstrate that I've earned the trust that these citizens of this county that you have given me to continue to do that. I didn't know that we could bring in signs. If you're interested in one of my signs, I have a truck, a pickup truck. It's mine, and it's got plenty of my signs in it. Keepjudgebowers.com is my website. I've never been on social media until this campaign. So one thing that Mr. McMaster said, he has changed me, or these candidates have changed me, because I now have embraced social media. I'm on all the various social media platforms as well. I'm happy to speak with you afterwards if you would like to come up and talk. I'd be happy to introduce myself to you personally and entertain any of your questions. I would very much appreciate your consideration on May the 21st to allow me to continue to serve you and all the people in this community as your state court judge, Division I, Post 7. Thank you so much.
I believe I actually have some slides. Let's see if they're going to put them up here. Thank you. You can move to the next slide. This is our mission statement for our office. I'm not going to read it to you, but it's focused on being a victim-centered prosecution office. We're focused on restorative justice, responsible restorative justice, and making sure we put violent offenders away. Next slide, please. When I talk about violent offenders, it's personal to me. I have served this community, this country, since I was 19 years old. Served in the United States Army and fought against our enemies to make sure that we continue to have a safe and vibrant place to live and play. We prosecuted the killers of Ahmaud Arbery. And I want you to look at that picture to the top left. In that picture, you see a white female, a black female, and a Hispanic male. That was done on purpose because I wanted everybody to have a piece in that prosecution to drive home that we are a community and we are committed to one another. Go to the next slide. Our community engagement has 3 parts to it. A youth outreach that I talked about before, because eliminating childhood trauma will make our community safer. Community support. Every time you see a festival, we are there. And we bring Georgia Justice Project with us at my expense. That money comes out of my pocket for those booths because I want Georgia Justice Project to be there to help our citizens, to make sure they get the help that they need to be restored back to the community. Our restorative measures, I've talked about them. That's how we make our community safer. Next slide, please. This is some of the community stuff that we do. I'm a speaker on the extension tour, helping them to raise money to provide for our homeless. Our second chance desk that I talked about before. I'm picking up trash down in Austell. We're talking to the principals about gang awareness, making sure they understand how we can prevent gangs. We're reading to the kids. We're doing all pro dad programs. Next slide. Is it working? You better believe it. That picture there shows some of the awards that we have earned since we've been in office. I have been named District Attorney of the Year, because of the work that this office does. Next slide. I'm asking for your vote because I have done the work that you expected me to do. I've kept every promise, and I've made sure that this community is the safest community in all of Metro County, Atlanta. Thank you.
So again, I'd like to say thank you to everybody being here tonight. Alpha Kappa Alpha, Alpha Phi Alpha, all the other organizations that are here tonight that put this together. I want the audience to understand how important it is that you all are here tonight. This truly matters that you all come out, you get educated on the candidates here. And I want to give every candidate here a round of applause because, you know, we're in a small population of people who are willing to come forward and run for office. That is a no easy feat. And so I would just like to say for all the candidates here, thank you. And I appreciate you. You heard my opponent talk about serving the community. He serves the community through his office. Well, I'd like to say, for me, I serve the community on my own. I do things with my sorority. I serve with elderly. I've served with Must Ministry. I participate through Cobb organizations on my own time as a volunteer. I've been a Cobb Youth Leadership Program chair. I chaired an entire event and an entire year-long program, as well as been a committee member. I do things through my community, through service, through my sorority. It doesn't take a title for me to engage in my community. It takes just my willingness to want to help my community. It takes me being a public servant, and that's who I am. A vote for me would mean that I would ensure diversity within the office. The office needs to reflect our community. It needs to reflect LGBTQ+. It needs to reflect race. It needs to reflect gender. It needs to reflect all people in our community. The office needs to be fair. It needs to be equitable. It needs to be free of implicit bias. It needs to treat people who cannot make it through the justice system in ways that oftentimes other people have been able to. It needs to treat people, it needs to listen to the community leaders. The community leaders, I haven't heard anything about oversight through the community, having boards to help establish what type of wants and desires come from the community. I haven't heard that that's happening. I obviously, if running for office with the DA, if I felt that there were strengths there, I wouldn't be here today. So I'm here to change. I'm here to incorporate more community awareness, community engagement, and do programs that are different. And like I said, grand jury process, I think my opponent had it incorrect. There is a transcript. There is a court reporter there. That's the rights of the officers to have that. That is a code section in the law that says that they get that. I'll stop. Thank you.
She mentioned that the only reason I do community service is because of my position. That is so.
That's not what I said. I said it doesn't take a title to participate in my community, which it does not. I'm talking about myself.
Can I finish? She made the implication that the only reason I do community service is because of my position. That is far from the truth. One of the reasons why I fell in love with my wife is because we used to go feed the homeless together. We used to go down to Pine Street and feed the homeless. I do so many things through my church, and this is my church home, Zion Baptist Church. I have done many things in this community long before I had a title. I worked with the NAACP and the SCLC. I did things for them to help them help others. So my history in this county goes way beyond me becoming a district attorney.
So what we have done, they have allowed him 1 minute to respond. I think there was maybe some confusion on what you did say, and that was the second time. So they did allow him the opportunity to respond because you did say something personally about him. So at this point, we are going to end the portion of the show. We're going to bring out Deacon Moore.
Again, I want to thank you all for attending tonight. Hopefully you all learned something that you can use when it comes time to get out there and vote. And I want to make some announcements before we get out of here. April 29th, legislative roundup with Representative Terry Cummings. Mapleton Improvement Coalition will have an online candidate forums on April 30th and May the 2nd. And Cobb Chair of Commissioners, Tax Commissioner on May the 2nd will have a session, in-person session. Y'all get to see my scribble. But anyway, I want to thank, first of all, the sponsors. Marietta Roswell Alumni Chapter of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the League of Women Voters, the People's Agenda, Rho Zeta Omega Chapter of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Chi Gamma Gamma Chapter of Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, Omicron Mu Lambda Chapter of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 6th Episcopal District of AME, African Methodist Episcopal Church, Cobb Chapter of the NAACP, and Cobb's Southern Christian Leadership Conference. Give all of them a round of applause for sponsoring this event. And finally, I want to echo the sentiment of those who made the comment earlier in thanking all of the candidates for having the courage to step forward and expose themselves personally for all of Cobb County to see. Politics can seem like a contact sport at times. Keep pushing forward and let God continue to order your steps, and you will do what you are called to do. And before we get out of here, I want to just do the benediction. So if you all bow your head. Dear Heavenly Father, we'd like to thank you for allowing us to be here this evening. I pray that we learn something that we can use to take full advantage of the opportunity that we have to vote. It hasn't always been the case that we have had that opportunity. So it is incumbent upon us to make sure that we exercise our right to vote, to be an example to the kids coming behind us, to let them know that it is a responsibility to respect the work that our elders have done and put us in the position to make selections of people that look like us, think like us, act like us, and vote like us. Dear Heavenly Father, we ask that you send everyone home, giving them the grace and mercy that you brought them here with. I pray that they get home safely and protecting them and their homes that they are returning to. We thank you for these and all of our other blessings. It is in your Son, Jesus' name, that I pray. Amen.
Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome. Listen, I've never met you before. I like it. You said, I like your spirit. Some of your comments, you said some of the things that were on my mind. That's really coming about the
Whatever. No, I mean, I think that. I was in the cool, I was a human being, and I had a relationship with, let's see, you have this animus. He's got people. Anyway, I appreciate it.
Excuse me, one quick second. I forgot to mention something. If any of you all need a ride to the polls, starting Monday, April 29th, if you need a ride to the polls, or if you're willing to take someone to the polls, I want you to dial 1-877-R-VOTE. That's 1-877-687-8683. Thank you.
Sorry about your sign. I didn't know that. I didn't, if that came across as critical, I didn't mean it that way at all. Yeah. I got you. No, it's all good. Yeah. Not, no criticism. Yeah. Implied or meant to be implied. Yeah. If somebody wants to sign, I'll go get them. Yeah. That's simple. I see your signs all over the place now. I've been working hard. That's very good. Thank you, sir. Thank you.